All right, welcome everybody to this episode of O365A. On this episode, we're joined by Andre Lutermann. He's a member of the CTO office for Microsoft Germany, and we talked to him last time, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month now, about Copilot for security. And there was a lot of new exciting announcements that were forthcoming in the Microsoft Secure event that recently happened. So welcome, Andre, and we wanted to catch up with you and find out all about all the exciting things that were announced at Microsoft Secure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be back, actually. Yeah, what was happening in the meantime? So we definitely had the announcement that the GA of Copilot for Security will happen on 1st of April for the main regions. So Copilot for Security is our purpose-built AI for anything that we will change how we do security and how we will design security from a certain standpoint inside Microsoft. And what we announced was that the standalone experience, meaning having an AI or a more large language model, more or less, that is able to handle security tasks and answer in natural language to anything in the Microsoft world, more or less, from Entra, Purview, definitely everything in the XDR and Sentinel world as well, and help you to be faster and quicker, so actually generate speed in the response to any kind of cyber threats.
That's great. And I know there was a bunch of new capabilities announced, like custom prompt books, knowledge base integration. Do you want to jump into a demo now and show us some of that?
Yeah, sure. So I can definitely show also some of the prompt books if you would like to do that. I'm not sure if I did something like that already during the last time. We did some kind of some of this script analysis stuff. I'm not quite sure what we all showed last time, but I can also show something of the prompt book for capabilities if you want.
Yep,
From a
that'd be
security
great.
standpoint first, and then we go a little bit into the other areas because we already hit some of the security stuff. Okay. Yeah, sure. Do that. Of course. So let's assume that I had something like a breach inside the environment. I found some of the artifacts of the attackers inside the environment. They used some kind of an obfuscated PowerShell script, for example, or any kind of malware scripting component. And I have no clue really of malware reversing or anything. And I would just like to know on how the attackers are actually acting and what their stuff is doing to a certain degree. And you have the possibility to use some of our featured prompt books here. So meaning that we will actually provide out of the box anyway, but I can also create my own prompt books that I can then share with other colleagues or just be for my own investigation. So I create a little prompt book here that is there out of the box for script analysis, because Copilot for Security can also help you to reverse engineer some of the stuff that the attackers are doing. And for example, with JavaScript and PowerShell, you can do a lot around that already. So I have a little workflow here around suspicious script analysis, and that contains also a prompt book here with like 7 questions, and I just have to provide the script that needs to be analyzed. And I will just paste the script here and let Copilot for Security do the analysis for me. That script is a little bit obfuscated as well, so it's not all clear text, even if you can read PowerShell quite good. Some of the thing is not going well. And I also asked a bunch of questions now out of the box, and Copilot for Security is trying to find the answers for that for me. For example, what is the script doing? Is it malicious, yes or no? And what is the best plan to react to something like that? And you can also see the magic is already happening here in the background. And the first question I asked was, okay, what is the script actually doing? And he says, okay, the script is suppressing, first of all, it's suppressing all error message as it starts. And here is the reason why, because there is some error action preference silently continue in there. It's also creating a system.net web client object that is done downloading some kind of an exe file via HTTPS and from a certain IP address, and then creating a directory and trying to start that. So here's the clear text, what is behind that, then starts the download as a new process here as well. Okay, I'm not quite aware what the intent of the script is. It appears to be downloading and executing a potential malicious executable file from a remote server. And yeah, actually just asking, is it malicious? Yes or no? And Copilot for Security says, based on the analysis of the potential PowerShell script, it's considered to be potentially malicious because that's what it's doing. Down and executing a file that suppresses all messages and then tries to spawn additional processes. Maybe not the best thing to do. And I also asked, can you provide some of the reputations of any kind of the IOCs that are provided in the script file from the script analysis? And here it comes back already that the IP address where the download is being facilitated from has a bad reputation. Scores 100 more or less, and so high confidence that this is something really bad happening. And it also gives me reasoning because first of all, the cyber threat intelligence already says that this IP address is used for Cobalt Strike-based attacks. So Cobalt Strike is a beaconing framework that then calls home back to the attacker. Initially used for some of the pen testing or in the pen testing world, and then was adopted because it was so good from the attacker side as well. And if I would like to see more about that, there is a Cobalt Strike threat profile on Microsoft Threat Intelligence that I can directly click here as well. But the IP address itself is also attributed to one of the threat actors, so actually a Chinese threat actor group called Sig Typhoon that we hit also last time with one of our demos a little bit. And also our own behavior analysis says that the IP is definitely exhibiting some suspicious behavior. So I'm quite confident that this is something back already. Is there more threat intelligence about or any kind of articles with the IOCs found? And here's definitely some of the evidence around that. And I also asked in the prompt book already for what should be our response to harden our environment against such attacks. And it comes clear now that some of my settings in my environment are not very, very good because I don't restrict any kind of PowerShell execution in this environment. So first of all, the recommendation is limit the execution of PowerShell scripts to maybe signed or trusted publishers, and maybe also implement some kind of application whitelisting. Do something maybe also on the network connection side and block suspicious network connections, something that you can easily do in the Defender suite as well by using network protection.
So
but there's also human side and everything like here. So actually I have a complete plan more or less on what should be done. And there was a question.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. So for these custom prompt books, I mean, that's really fantastic. The fact that you can just create so just so I can clarify myself, I create multiple prompts that I want this script or whatever I paste in code to respond to. So the threat analysis, the security copilot's going to iterate through and respond to all of my questions based on the entry that I put in, correct?
Correct. So I will just say, this is my use case, and I will create a list of questions around that. What would be a typical question I would like to follow up with? And it's just giving me like all the answers then in one go. So instead of just running through all the answers. So I can standardize more or less certain use cases and get all the info that I need around the typical use cases then in one go without actually asking all the questions and forgetting something or things like that. So just having a complete picture, just that is a combination of multiple questions, more or less.
No, that's great. And then, so I just had a quick follow-up, Michael. And then just at the tail end of when you're going through this, it does all of these summary and sort of, here's the things you should do. Is there a way to also action it, like you were saying through like Defender, or is it telling me that go and do these things inside of Defender in order to do these blocks or whatever remediation that you need to do? Or can I action from the Copilot to say, go and do that automatically?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we definitely have that in mind as well. But from the security standpoint at the moment, it is just helping me to create a response action to that. It's not executing the response action yet, but we have lots of partners that are right now creating the plugin ecosystem to a certain degree that will then extend in that regard. And there may or may not be in the future something from the Microsoft side as well that will then open up a complete response plan as well.
Awesome.
This looks like the evolution of like Copilot Labs when we think about it from the Microsoft 365, where you could have prompts that are saved and you can share them. But this is like chaining them together, so it's pretty amazing. Any thoughts or plans to have like plugin support? Is that kind of how you like? I'm not sure if PromptBooks would ever get plugin support, where you could have a saying, maybe trigger actions.
Yeah, of course. So there are lots of partners that are already designing something like that to integrate their solution into the Microsoft Security Copilot for Security world and extend the reach of the questions asked, and also understand then maybe some of the response actions with other toolings. That is just our first thing that we are doing. We are also adding additional functionality that will extend what we can do during the early access program already, and that will be also launched in the GA's content already. We are not, with the first GA, we are not completely releasing all the response actions from the Microsoft world yet, but you can assume that that is some kind of an evolution that will come over time.
And my kind of last question on this item is, any thoughts on being able to attach the file instead of copying the script text, like similar to how Copilot, you could like import an image and then it would kind of do that. I'm wondering if you could import a script versus kind of copying the actual script data out.
Yeah, that's something. So that I just showed you the standalone experience in this case, which is not integrated into the Defender or the security portal yet. But which is not the way that is integrated. But there is an embedded experience, so we can also do it directly from securitymicrosoft.com, and then you don't have to copy around something or something like that. That's clear. It's just that you can still use Copilot for Security also as a standalone instance, and it will extend your own capabilities in a way, for example, like this script reversing exercise here. Even if you don't have everything from the Microsoft security and protection sensor standpoint already, or maybe a mixture of other tools. Definitely for all the XDR and Sentinel customers, there is an integrated experience directly in the product available. Yeah.
I just have one question, Andre. In a prompt book, can you use data from multiple plugins to sort of answer the question or the ask that's given to it?
Of course. So also during the early access program, there were some third-party sources already supported from a plugin standpoint. And you can also use those prompt books over all the plugins that are connectable.
Good stuff.
Andre, in terms of just circle back to the partner ecosystem, I just looked and there's more than 100 partners that are listed, which is pretty amazing. Are all these partners sort of Copilot for security ready? And what might a typical partner look like in terms of what it would do? Like, you talked about them taking these results and then performing some sort of action. Maybe talk us through a little bit about.
So we had a lot of pre-GA partners already, so meaning actually independent software vendors for Microsoft that already integrated their kind of ecosystem to some parts from a plugin standpoint into Copilot for Security. But we also had partners that are running, for example, their own MSSP business, or managed security service provider business, that were interested in integrating some of their magic with Copilot for Security as well. So that is on one side, from integration standpoint, is those software vendors that see a connection to the security space, but the other ones are partners that are actually bringing services to life for customers, and they would like to add some of the capabilities for the customers or for their own businesses into Copilot for Security. This kind of ecosystem is quite broad. We started a little smaller, but you see that there's a big effort for multiple vendors right now and multiple partners to integrate more and more of the capabilities into the plugin ecosystem for Copilot for Security right now. Yeah, this is huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was just some of the standalone experience here. I didn't show the embedded experience yet, but if you can do that as well. If we want, just a moment, I will just switch over to another little demo here that I can do for you. And that will show you on how this is integrated as well. So let's assume I'm an Entra, or I'm new to Entra ID administration. I'm in a small company. I'm not doing all the functionality for everything M365 yet, but I'm quite good in my on-prem Active Directory, but I'm a little bit newer to the Entra ID world yet. And I would like to create something like lifecycle workflows for joiner, movers, leavers processes, for example, inside my Entra ID world. And I'm not sure on how to really configure that, but maybe Copilot can help here as well. So I can click on the Copilot itself, and it's already greeting me. Hello, Andre. And I would like to enter some of the tasks that I would like to add. So create a little lifecycle workflow for me for new hires in the marketing department that sends a welcome email, add a tab, and adds them all to the Woodgrove users group, for example. I'm not quite sure on how to really configure all the different policies around that and integrate that with my conditional access as well. So I just say, oh, maybe Copilot can help here. So it's also usable not only from a security standpoint, but also from an administrative and configuration standpoint, and says, okay, here is what we would like to do. Here's the workflow. It will include this kind of different things. It will trigger us on the employee hire date. It will enable the account on the hire date, then sends a welcome mail, adds the user to the group, sends the welcome email again, creates to the whole group, then creates a tab and an email to their manager. And there's also additional customization that I can add here. For example, email and company branding. And I can also add additional tasks if that's not enough. So let's create a draft of that.
Andre, maybe while it's doing that, maybe you could just explain what a tab is.
The question is more, you mean here in
Yeah,
Entra,
it says, well, it says create a tab, right? So are we connecting into the user's details or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So it's now creating for me something like a join and move lease template here out of that. So it's also has already created all the different policies around that. So what is the description here, things like that. I didn't enter anything. It gives the configuration scope that I would like to have that. I can also see the different tasks that are behind this kind of workflow that I would like to create. And I can now just review if all the settings are okay for me, if I would like to add something, and then say, okay, create this kind of workflow for me. So that's something that even from the barrier of entry, I mean, if I'm not really 100% sure on everything Entra ID right now, I can definitely see on how that speeds up my my work from a day-to-day perspective. But the question is more on how you would like to use that in the future. And same is true also. We are always figuring or maybe focusing on the security analysis side to a certain degree. And that's important, definitely. We need to get this, get speed in the response. But you can also do that, for example, if you're an Intune administrator. If I would like to do some kind of the troubleshooting and things like that. So for example, I have a user here that is experiencing some problems to a certain degree, and then has contacted me. There are some devices that are non-compliant and cannot access certain areas. Sorry for that. And cannot access some of the things, but I can use now Copilot in this case to explore some of the device stuff. And for example, I already did some of the questions before, and so I can just click them or enter them if you would like to do that. So just say, tell me about the device. What is the problem here? And it's generating the answer. It gives me all the information about that. What's the primary user here, the Azure ID, Azure AD device ID, object ID, so Entra ID, group ID, and everything. And I would, but that wasn't really what I'm asking for. I'm maybe not really 100% precise in the prompt in this case, and would like to see the configuration policies. And I've seen here that I have certain restrictions on the system. Sorry for that. And that is not yet on. And I was like, what is behind this kind of policy? To describe the interest policy, search and start menu restrictions. And it gives me, disables the search UI and all entry points, keyboard shortcuts, and so on, and removes the search button from the taskbar in this case. And also gives me the information that this policy is assigned to the warehouse PCs group. Sorry. Sorry for my voice to a certain degree. And the device I'm asking for, what kind of groups is it in? It's in the warehouse PCs group. It says it's also a labs device, so meaning local admin password tool is on the system. And I can now see what I need to change to a certain degree. I can explore the device further to a certain degree. What are the managed apps of the device, for example? So I don't have to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just go ahead.
I was just wondering on the troubleshooting side, are you able to do like a broader statement, like list all the Android devices that have failed compliance because of XYZ or something like that? Like, can you use it as a? That's cool.
Yeah, you can really actually do that. That's a simple example to a certain degree here, what I'm doing. But it's definitely getting everything, but I now see that there is also not the user inside there. I can just ask simple questions and get all the information without just scrolling to all the different tabs and every kind of configuration detail. I can just ask the question, get the information, and see what's going on. I can already see
one
that
of those predefined questions where it's like, why can't I sign in my Teams room? And then it will query conditional access and Intune and tell you why.
So there's lots of, actually in this case, it's not a bad idea. So there's lots of feedback running into this kind of development process already. We love customer feedback on that because they have the use cases, they have the greatest ideas they see every day, what might help them as well. It's super important for us to get this kind of customer feedback. It's also interesting when customers that are using Copilot for security inside their organization are talking to each other because they are now imagining new use cases that they haven't tested yet, and others already did that, and new solutions to problems that they haven't really thought about in any way. That's a really great thing here. So that we are really at the beginning of a real new wave of technology usage to a certain degree. So we are just at the very, very starting point here. So I can go on.
Andre, just a quick question as I look at these embedded experiences, specifically the Intune and the Entra ID. Is everything you showed there, is that all Copilot for security, or is that another combined with another Copilot experience?
No, that's all Copilot for security. So everything in Entra, Intune, Purview, things like that, Priva, definitely everything, Defender, XDR, and Sentinel in this case, and also from a standalone perspective, what I showed from the script analysis side, that's all Copilot for security.
Okay. And is that a different licensing, or is that if you just license Copilot for security, does it also license you for the Entra ID and the Intune embedded experience, or is that a separate?
No. So you just normally license your MC65 licenses for Entra ID in this case, maybe also the 5 security stuff as well. That's the normal MC65 licensing. Copilot for security is licensed or is actually run in a different way. It's a consumption-based model to a certain degree. There is a certain way on how we build that. So we call it security computing units. That's kind of the mechanism that is built like. You can think about it like one SCU, how we call it, security computing unit in this case, is like giving you like 10 workflows from an analysis standpoint in the XDR world. That will change a little bit from the complexity of what you're trying to do a little bit, but just for a rough rule of thumb, think about like 10 workflows from a complete analysis in the XDR world, for example.
Very good. Since we're on that topic, this idea of security computing unit, let's say you onboard to Copilot for security, you're using it. Can you see how many SCUs you are consuming?
Yeah, I can. That's definitely everything, also in Azure overall, it's a thing that you have your complete transparency of or some kind of planning capability for the cost management perspective as well. That's clear. Yeah, you can see that a typical customer that we see typically has like 2 or 3 SUs per hour typically, and that's larger businesses, meaning mid-size to larger businesses that are using this kind of environments. That is tailored more or less to t-shirt sized, I would say, to what kind of organization you are and how many usage points you typically have.
Got it. So net, it's based on usage. And is there a pricing calculator available for a customer looking to estimate how much this would cost them per month?
Yeah, so the general t-shirt sizes for that are available also online, but you can definitely reach out to your Microsoft partner or your Microsoft representative from a sales perspective to get a clear understanding of what's going on from a pricing perspective. Yeah.
Got it. Looks good. One thing I'm curious of, given that, Copilot for security, it's been out in preview for a while, and now we have GA coming. You're obviously really close to it. You're really close to customers using it. Can you share any real world examples that you've been really excited about? The tagline for Copilot for security is the ability to defend at machine speed. Are there any good case studies or real world examples you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, definitely from getting a complete picture of the different security sensors in the environment and just understanding just with one question more or less of what's going on in a real complex attack scenario is one of the great capabilities that Copilot for security gives. It also is super easy to approach to a certain degree if you don't have super deep knowledge of all the different GUIs, Entra, Intune, and XDR yet. That's one of the things. But we also have customers that are totally excited and gave their own Copilot a name. So I imagine there's one organization that called it Marvin. So everything that they are talking to is Marvin to a certain degree, and they are really, really happy to work with that from a SOC perspective, because some of the details and also some of the deep links that from a conversation arises with to understand, for example, some of the device dependencies and things like that. They weren't aware of, even if they were really, really good from a security standpoint. So there was a really mature organization, but they weren't aware of some of the functionalities in the background that they can see information and understand what's going on yet, because it was only that Copilot actually suggested that they take a look at this information from this standpoint. And yeah, that was really great. So customers, so we are in a very early stage of getting forward something like a conversational AI in the security space. We're the first to really launch it and had the EAP program very early on. I'm sure that there is functionality that still could be added, and as we talked about it already, But customers really love what they are getting here.
Sounds good.
Andre, is there any type of reporting or analytics on sort of like the usage from like the admin side of things on how they're using the Copilot?
So what do you imagine, or what do you have in your mind about that? So meaning just from a cost perspective, or how effectively
Just
are
from
they
like a
using Copilot?
usage, like from a user perspective, right? Like your administrators, how are they using it? Are they adopting it appropriately? Like that, those kind of things, right?
I would say no, really, because they are not there's no adoption score or something like that you see in other tools where you can see from an organization standpoint, did they really use, for example, some of their Teams or OneDrive yet, something like that. That's not yet in the system, but I'm sure. So we already had customers asking for something like that because they like to see that all their security people are really interacting with the system and making best use of it. That's sometimes also a conversation, especially in Europe, where you have to be aware of some of the Workers' Council conversation, also privacy responsibilities to a certain degree, and then weigh it in a perfect way.
Perfect.
Andre, is there anything you can share in terms of roadmap, or what's Microsoft looking to do next?
Yeah, we already touched the point to a certain degree in the last episode, so that we will definitely extend that beyond the Microsoft world. There are definitely additional functionality that is coming to Copilot. I just showed some of the script analysis. There will be other things that are natural from an analysis standpoint besides script that everybody is asking for, and you can assume that this is coming as well. And I can't share all the details yet,
Sure.
because some of that are definitely not yet publicly available. But
Awesome.
you can, there's a lot, there's a big set of features that we are adding from the early access program into GA already. So there's additional functionality
Great.
coming.
All right, Andre. Well, somehow 30 minutes has passed already, or close to it. So we'll let you go. Want to thank you a lot for coming on, showing us the latest and greatest in Copilot for security. And I suspect after the April 1st GA and more customers get on board, we'll see more feedback, more innovation, and we'll be able to see what happens with this exciting product in the security space.
Yeah, there's exciting times to actually make use of large language model and not only see marketing hype around that. So customers will definitely see what the value is to a certain degree, and we got good feedback on that.
Fantastic. Well, maybe we'll do a check-in in about 6 months and do another podcast, see what real world scenarios are unfolding and what's next. So thank you, Andre. Really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me again.
Thanks.
Andre.